There's only two of us here today, so I'll do the clapping. But welcome, and it's great to finally have you on. We've mentioned you a few times, and we've been speaking about guests and stuff. And it's good to finally make it happen. How you been?
Yeah, good, man. Thanks for having me. As I say, I watch quite regularly, so feels weird being here. Lovely studio.
We just wanted to find an Arsenal fan that isn't deluded.
It's hard work.
It's very difficult.
It's hard work.
It's hard. We've had to pay a whole team.
Because even Harry's a bit delulu sometimes.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe wait till the end of this before you judge that.
Just an overview, just because we've got you on. Initial reactions to Arsenal's transfer activity so far. Just a quick summary. Are you happy? Do you want more? What are you thinking?
I think you've got to be happy. You just look at the sheer volume of players that Arsenal have either signed or are very close to getting over the line, and you've got to be excited by that. I think the beginning of the window was probably a little bit underwhelming because we all knew that the striker was the priority. That was the number one, and you're hearing all this talk of backup goalkeepers, and you go and get Kepa, and then you go get Norgard, and you're looking at that and you're going, well, I'm not really sure that excites me. Zubimendi comes in.
Yeah.
I think that's a great signing, but of course, we've known about that since January. So for that reason, it's been a bit of a kind of slow build-up into the window.
You do have that time in the window where it's like Arsenal and their people would have probably been speaking to 3 or 4 different representatives of strikers and stuff, and then you kind of narrow in towards the end of the window. How it always goes for every club, really, that panic of, oh my God, we need a striker and they're signing a goalkeeper. And it's like, just wait till the end of the window and you'll see if they've addressed everything that you need.
I also think as well, having a new sporting director means that Arsenal's approach is different.
Andrea Berta is in.
Andrea Berta's in, and we know that Andrea Berta notoriously likes to go out and speak to loads of options.
So what happened with because like we had kind of heard through different media reports, and you never know who to believe and stuff, that Edu left, obviously, but even before Edu had left, Arteta had kind of taken the reins a little bit more, and some of the transfer decisions were of his own doing. So whose responsibility is it both of theirs?
I think now I think Andrea Berta's very clearly in charge of the kind of transfers. I think Mikel Arteta will obviously have an input as the manager. And I think you get this thing, right, where people seem to want the sporting director to be in charge or want it to be solely the manager. Well, no, you've got to work collaboratively.
Yeah.
That's the only way that you're going to have success. If the sporting director brings someone in that the manager doesn't want, well, that's no good to anybody because it impacts your ability to do your job. So I think it is Andrea Berta leading the charge at the moment. And I think it became apparent to me back in January that Mikel Arteta maybe doesn't have as much power as people were saying because he was desperate to get a striker in. He was adamant that...
Well, let's talk about it because Victor Gyokeres is surely one of the marquee signings that Arteta's ever made at the club, I'd argue, because obviously he spent money, £100 million on Declan Rice, but a number 9. I mean, Arsenal haven't brought in a major number 9 since Aubameyang. I think that's fair to say. Jesus more of a forward or a different kind of option. But what do you think of that? I mean, my initial reaction has to be the deal itself, the financials behind it, very, very good. It's not very expensive, is it, relatively?
Good. I think
great, 64 million.
Gyokeres has kind of helped that happen with his
yeah, he's made it easy.
I think he refused to turn up for pre-season training, and I think he's kind of been, there was a talk about a gentleman's agreement and people backing out of gentleman's agreements and things like that. So it's gone a bit wild. Obviously, you were linked to Benjamin Sesko as well. Are you happy they've gone this way? Or
I liked both of them, but I'll be honest, I've always said from the beginning that it feels like Gyokeres is the guy that can come in and give us what we need today. Whereas with Benjamin Sesko, you're looking at him, you're looking at his goal return, and you're thinking, he has the potential and he might develop into that guy, but he's maybe not quite there yet. Plus, you mentioned the financials. I mean, for Benjamin Sesko, you were looking at upwards of 90 million euros. It was way too
for
much.
someone that scored. He's highly rated, and obviously there's a reason for that. But he scored like 13 goals.
Yeah, it's not a lot of goals. It's not a lot of goals. And with Gyokeres, obviously there is that question mark about how the volume of goals that he scored in Portugal is going to translate to the Premier League. You got to be mindful that he's not going to score 39 Premier League goals. He got that total in Portugal. That's probably going to drop down quite significantly.
He might get 39 all comps. He could get 40 in all comps. I could see that kind of number.
Do you think?
Yeah, he could. I'm not saying it's likely. But like when Haaland came, he scored 50 plus. Salah's come from Roma. If Gyokeres hits the heights that we expect him to, he could hit 40 in all comps. Not in the Premier League, but in all comps.
I think we've almost been obsessed recently about this idea of like Arsenal needing this 30 league goal striker. I think if Gyokeres contributes 20 in the Premier League, maybe 30 in all competitions, that is already a massive step up from where Arsenal are at in terms of their striking options. And it's not just what Victor Gyokeres is going to bring to you in terms of goals only. It's what he brings to the whole team. It's something so different.
I think he'll possibly and probably bring the best out of Odegaard again. I think the problem for Odegaard has been no striker to play off. And he's one of the players that have been limited the most by you guys playing Mikel Merino up there, because I'm an outsider looking in, so I don't watch as much of Arsenal as you, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But it feels like when Merino was there, it was kind of get it out wide to Saka. Saka can either cut in, have a shot, or whip it in for Mikel Merino. And then Odegaard kind of got lost in that because he never had anyone making those runs. And whilst Gyokeres can still be that option for the likes of Saka in the middle, he then's probably going to bring the best out of Odegaard again.
Yeah, and I think for Odegaard, just like you mentioned that Arsenal maybe slightly adapted their game to work for Merino. Completely agree with that, by the way. But I think as well, sometimes just having someone you can bounce the ball off. And even when it was Kai Havertz up front, he's not a traditional, conventional number 9. He'll go roaming, he'll go left and right, he'll drop deep. And sometimes when you're in Odegaard's position on the edge of the box, you need that guy to play off. Odegaard suffered for not having Saka as well for a good couple of months. That was a problem. Odegaard was out himself for a couple of months. It's a very disrupted season for him, and I think you will see the best out of him again. But on Gyokeres and the bigger picture, I think just having someone that occupies the centre halves and plays in those spaces, you know, the amount of times you see Arsenal get to the byline, cut the ball back, but the number 9's not there because he's gone
bouncing around in the box. Yeah,
exactly. So I think just having that in itself, I think will make a massive difference.
Will he be... Like, the reason this sounds crazy, innit? Like, obviously he's going to be first choice at the start, but almost like, does he do enough in possession of the ball and off the ball for kind of him to be just a guaranteed starter playing 90 minutes every game? Or can you see the manager kind of going, well, I'll play Havertz here and Gyokeres here? Do you think he'll be a mix?
I certainly would have seen that happening if Sesko was the one that Arsenal went for. If Sesko came in, I saw a world where Benjamin Sesko would be eased into it, would get time to adapt to the Premier League and adjust, while Kai Havertz was kind of sort of carrying the flag for that period of time. But I do think that Gyokeres starts. I think he starts the majority of games. But, I mean, if you're looking at depth, and this is what Arsenal were missing last season, correct me if you think I'm wrong, guys, I don't think there's that many better second-choice number 9s than Kai Havertz. To be able to bring him off the bench or to be able to push him up there alongside Gyokeres to play as a 2, I think that's really powerful, and I think Arsenal have got some real depth.
But does he remain a striker then? So are we saying Havertz, obviously, look, you're going to play 60, 70 games in a season. Havertz probably going to start at least 35 of those. But where do you see his main position being? Will he go back to being that kind of 8/10?
I think he can play in the hole. I think that's always been his best position. And even when he plays at 9, the parts in the game which he really impacts is when he drops into that hole, when he makes that run into the box a little bit later or creates a space for someone to run in behind him. I think Havertz is much more comfortable in those types of spaces. And I think actually being able to take him away from that 9 position and saying that you can be there if you want to be there, but actually you've got that freedom now to operate in your own hole and it doesn't impact.
He doesn't start, does he? If you get everyone you want, including Eze, who looks like, looks like Arsenal could put a big bid in.
Because we heard like Gyokeres was happening, and there was Eze,
there's Madueke,
Rodrigo, there's Madueke. So Madueke's done, right?
Madueke's done.
Is it realistic that Arsenal then go and get Eze or like a Rodrigo type, or
Eze
is it one or two?
Not Rodrigo.
Yeah, I don't think they could afford Rodrigo on top of everything that they've already done. But I think a deal for Eze is doable, and I'll tell you why. Because
is it realistic?
I think it is.
Or are Arsenal fans kind of remember what we said earlier about kind of whittling your options down to 1 or 2 or 3 of them? Is that kind of what we've seen, and now Eze is kind of an option that's been put to the side, or is it still active?
I think it is. If you're keeping a hold of Trossard and Martinelli, you could argue that you don't really need another out-and-out left winger. I'd also argue that Madueke will probably get some game time on the left. So actually pivot into someone.
So Madueke is the alternative for Rodrigo.
I think so, yeah. And I think if you then get Eze in, who can play in a more central position, can support Odegaard with the creativity, give you something a little bit different, I actually think that's a better use of the funds. So I think Eze is a serious option. And I also think that, a lot's been made of the release clause, 67, 68 million pounds, whatever it is. I really do think that if you go to Crystal Palace around about the 55, 60 million pounds,
no, you can't
they consider it. No, I'll tell you why.
It's the contract.
Think about it.
He's worth what his release clause is.
He is. But think about it this way, right? He's got 2 years left on his contract. If you don't sell him this summer, then next summer he's going into
Yeah,
the
but it's
final
like
year.
Brentford with Mbeumo. They don't mind because if they keep, let's say Brentford keeping Mbeumo, Palace keeping Eze, that might be worth
But if you're
survival to you. It might be.
If you're Palace, can you do it? 'Cause bear in mind they've lost a load of money on Mark Gay.
If they give you a
Yeah,
cheap rate
last
on
time.
Eze, I'll be so mad because how does this happen? They charged us 50
But I'm
million
seeing
for
reports of that.
Wan-Bissaka. They're going to take.
I'm seeing reports of that. I think Arsenal will try it. And I think they'll get. Eze.
Do you think it's kind of like a goodwill gesture because he's won the cup with them and all that?
I think so as well. I think so. And his age profiles. I think Parish.
How old is he now?
28. He's
27?
pushing 30, isn't he? I think so. They'll be looking to try and get someone in younger from the Championship maybe or outside the Premier League and do another flip on him in the next few years. But Eze takes him on a whole different planet, mate. Eze and Gyokeres takes Arsenal to a whole different planet. I think the Arsenal board have woken up. I think they've seen what Liverpool are doing. 2 brand new fullbacks, Champions League level fullbacks, a brand new marquee signing, the most expensive player in their history. It's woken you guys up, isn't it? I think.
Well, I think for Arsenal fans, you got to look back at last summer, right? And it was really underwhelming. And I know you can't always judge a transfer window until it's over. And sometimes you can't judge it until 12, 18 months down the line when you look back at how those signings worked out. But for years, Arsenal have needed to bolster that attack, and they haven't done it. Last year, their only attacking addition was Raheem Sterling on deadline day. And look how that went. They really let the manager down, in my opinion, by not going out and getting someone. January comes along.
Did he want someone? Or I always got the impression he was stubborn. He didn't want to add anyone.
Mikel Arteta,
He was trying to coach them.
In January especially, absolutely wanted a striker.
Okay.
100%. He sat there in press conferences saying, of course I want a striker. Of course I need more.
Yeah.
And it just never happened.
I know he's chronically injured, but what's Gabriel Jesus' status at the moment? Is he fit for pre?
He's not a million miles away. I don't think he's fit at the moment, but we are starting to see videos of him on social media doing some ball work now. So I don't think he's a million miles away, but that's just another layer of depth.
Again, it's like
It's not the worst
I'm struggling
option.
to see this here because you've got. No, it's good problems to have. What I'm about to say, by the way, but let's say you've got Zubamendi,
Norgard.
Norgard come in. You've
Marino.
got 3 or 4 midfielders that can play the midfield three, right? Then you've got Gyokeres now, who's going to be your number 9. Saka's got the right wing locked down. You buy Madueke. This is why I feel like Eze doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
I get-
And then you've got Eze coming in, who would expect to be a starter more often than not if he's going to leave Palace. Where do all these guys start? You know what I mean? And then we haven't even mentioned Havertz. We haven't even mentioned Martinelli, Trossard.
I think if you want to compete on multiple fronts, you've got to have
you
that
do.
squad. And I think if ever there was a time for Arsenal to wake up to that, it's this year after what happened last year.
Look at Liverpool. They had so many forwards for the last 6-7 years under Jurgen Klopp. They've had 2 or 3 in every position. I think Eze comes in. I actually think he's got the room to replace Odegaard in big games. I think you can make that decision. I think he's that good.
Odegaard's a captain, though, isn't it? That's
Yeah,
why you kind of almost go.
It's a crazy shout right now. I get that. But I think there'll be a moment in time where Eze's so good as a footballer. I think he might hit the ground running and surpass Odegaard in certain games, but you can't play both of them in every single
That's
game.
what I mean. It's like.
Eze, if you're counter-attacking against Real Madrid in the quarterfinals of the Champions League or Anfield away, Eze on the counter-attack.
Keeping the ball as well is so.
And you know what he's added to his game recently as well? He's become a really good box crasher. Gets into the box at the right
This is
time.
where his goal coming and cup
The
final.
goal against City is outstanding. I've got to ask you a question. Does Gyokeres take you over the line to winning the Premier League 25-26
Champions
season?
Because it'd be a success if they won.
We
either,
can't talk
right?
about the Champions League.
We can.
That's
Why
different.
not? We got
gravy,
to the
innit?
semi-final last year. Why not?
Yeah, and then you got completely outclassed.
We also seen PSG win it for the first time.
You did. You got outclassed. Mate,
We were
PSG will...
outclassed for 20 minutes in the first.
PSG just
PSG had
got
the
nicked
most
off Chelsea,
intricate midfield I've ever. They just won the treble, the most incredible midfield trio we've ever seen. Buvey on a different planet. You were lobbing it in with throw-ins. It's
They're an
embarrassing.
unbelievable team, and I said after they knocked us out that they fully deserve to go on and win the competition. But if you're pretending that they were miles away from Arsenal,
I thought they
over
were.
the course, no. For the first 20 minutes of the first leg, they were. Beyond that, it was pretty even, and that gives me encouragement. It does.
Hold on, we haven't even mentioned Christian Mascara.
Yeah,
Kepa Arrizabalaga.
another defender.
How many players are these lot signing, man? I'm jealous.
Do you think he'll win the Premier League next season with Gyokeres if he stays fit and scores?
Let me ask him this
You said
question
20
first,
goals.
Booth. It kind of matches yours. I've been one of those, and I've seen there's a few Arsenal fans as well, especially when you were leaning towards Sesko, that went, I ain't sure about Gyokeres. I'm not sure if these goals translate over here. Do you have any of the... am I wrong? Why am I wrong? Do you have any of the similar fears? Like,
No, of course. Like you look at where he's been playing, and you look at the career path that he's been on. It's difficult to make a case that Victor Gyokeres comes in and absolutely 100% is a success. Like, if you've got that worry, I don't blame you. And I had that worry. And I remember saying right at the start of the summer, Sesko, Gyokeres, I mean, none of them are a sure thing. But the fact that we've managed to get the Gyokeres deal for this price means it's a risk worth taking, and it's worth rolling the dice on him. If you're paying 90 million euros for a player that you're not sure about, then you got a problem. And plus, if you go get Eze in, if you add in other areas as well, because
less pressure on him then as well.
Exactly. Your attack as a collective needs to work. And because of Gyokeres' style, I think he impacts positively on Arsenal's, if you want to call it, attacking ecosystem.
I agree.
More than just about...
So you said 20. That is your number. You've not gone
Is that
crazy.
league
Yeah, league goals.
20 league goals. You've gone 20. I've said maybe 30, 40 in all comps. That's crazy. Does that take you over the line to winning the Premier League next season?
I think it can, because it's not just about the goals that he brings. It if he can
We don't want
unlock
cans.
the others.
Yeah,
we don't want cans. We want definites.
All right, well,
Who wins the Premier League next season?
at the moment, I'm going to say Arsenal. I'm going to say Arsenal.
We got
I'm going to put my
what
cards
we
on the
want
table.
there.
There you go. That's what you,
Put a
that's what you
timestamp on
wanted.
Bank that in the hard drive. Hard drive.
That's what you wanted. That's what I'll give you.